So today, this is my first ride with the new updated X20 motor system. I connected with a smart charger this morning, initiated the update via the app. And although I have Eco and Sport turned down slightly, mainly to eke out more distance on the smaller battery on this Scott, and the fact that it's only 11.5 kilos, I have kept turbo at 100%. So this is going to be my first test today to see how it performs with 275 watts maximum assist. I've got no assist at the moment, not needed it. So, oh my goodness, I'm putting out 400, 350. This is too easy. This is in sport mode. Let's go down to Eco. That is too easy. My goodness, absolutely flew up that like it wasn't there. I mean, yeah, it was only 3-4%, but it is bitterly cold. I'm only 2.5 miles in, so I'm relatively not warmed up and still cold. So in a minute, it's what is known near Manchester Airport is Ashley Hill. I won't be surprised if it goes over 10%. Yeah, it doesn't match any of my Peak District steep climbs, but it's a hill that I know well. And I've rode up this hill, not on this bike. This is only the second time I've rode my new bike. I've gone up this hill with the Specialized 1.1 motor, relatively easy. I've gone up it with the X35, it struggles. I mean, I have to put down super power to get it up, but this hill shoots up now, and I've put it in turbo. I've still got absolutely tons of gears to go. I'm putting out 350 watts. I'm putting out 440. This is a doddle. Absolute doddle. Let's check the app. .236, 237 is the most I've seen. I'm doing 10 miles an hour. It was about 8-9%. That was amazing. Let's put this down now to Eco. See you soon. So, something else that I've just noticed with the new Mahle X20 update. This is the second time I've rode the bike. First time, I noticed I was getting too much watts than what I needed on the first level of assistance in Eco mode. So, I opened up the app, I turned it down to 80%, carried on. This bike is so light and the tyre's so fast rolling. I pulled over again. I've reduced it to 70. Check the app, it's giving me about 80 watts. Perfect for me. Get more miles, happy days. So, we've just had this update today, going up the Tatton mile, which is about 2-3%. I thought I'm flying up this 16 miles an hour, pulled out the app. The bike's giving me an Eco. It's 70%, just as it was previously. It's giving me between 110 and 116 watts. Too much. I mean, I'm about 8 miles in. I've still got 92% of the battery. But I want to stretch that out. So I might have to go in the app now, knock it down to 65, 60. Again, pull out the app. 115 on a slight incline is too much. I mean, it's nice. It's nice cycling at 16 miles per hour. On a drag. I don't want to get used to that level of assistance. Not on flats. On the X35, when I turn it down to 70, on Eco, that maxes out at 70 watts. Because level 1, at 100% is 100 watts. Then on Sport, it's 175. I did the maths, turned that down to 150. Perfect. And then keep turbo in the tank. If you're someone like me, who regularly goes up the steepest of the Peak District hills, Pim's Chair, Blaze Hill, Brickworks, you name them. Mam Nick, Winner's Pass, done them all on the X35. Why did I move to the X20? Well, I noticed my range on the internal battery on my Ribble was getting slightly less. I went out and I bought the range extender. My goodness, it's almost 1.7 kilos on the scales. Turns a 12.8 kilogram bike into around 14.5 kilos. And you notice it. I'm glad I've not got deep section carbon wheels in this wind. It's coming from my left. So my bike's 11.6 kilos. I'm going to make small upgrades to the bike to reduce that. I'm going to save around 150 to 200 grams going to TPU tubes. Probably get the Silco ones. Which will out the motor because there's less rolling resistance at the wheel. So it might have a direct effect on the drive of the bike. Another thing, I'm going to turn down Eco and Sport now while I only own the bike as is. That way, if I get used to Eco and Sport being turned down, say by 25% of each, further down the line in the spring, when I purchased the X20 range extender, which, incidentally, only weighs 1 kilogram over the almost 1.7 of the X35. And when I ride with the range extender, I would turn Eco and Sport back up a little to compensate for the extra weight, so I don't notice the difference. A lot of calculations go on in your head like that. I'm on my way to Knutsford, where I bought my bike 3 weeks ago. Use 10% of the battery. 10% of the battery and I'm about 10 miles in. That's brilliant economy. excuse the sniffles. To the nice Cheshire town of Knutsford for a mocha on my way back. So I was talking earlier about this bike being 11.6 kilos. I'm going to very easily get that down to about 11.4. In the future, might get it down to 11.2 with a carbon seat with seat rails that are made out of carbon or manganese. So thinking about the range extender, take this bike up to about 12.5. That's less weight than my carbon fibre Ribble Endurance SL with the X35 motor. With more oomph. It's only what I could dream of a couple of years ago. So I was looking at the Ribble All-Road SLRE, complete same system as this. Ribble have decided to go with the heavier battery, but to house the heavier battery, they've had to go with wider tube, down tube, possibly thicker walls in that tube. So, doing my research online, this has got the 236 watt-hour battery, but I've used 15% in 12.5 miles because the bike is so light, and before I know it, I'm doing 16.5. I was doing 16 going uphill. So the Ribble All-Road, that was the bike I was looking at. I didn't even consider the Scott, didn't look into its specifications, its weight, anything. Never owned a bike by Scott. So if you go with the mechanical 105 with the X20 motor, 13.25 kilos, it's a bit heavy, isn't it? Well, I enjoy pushing that bike at 18, 19, 20 miles an hour plus. Maybe. It's heavier than my current Ribble, which I still own. Didn't like the idea of that. The 105 Di2, slightly less weight, 13.2, so 50 gram less. And that's £4,000. So, next one up. Has the Ultegra Di2. Carbon wheels, has the bigger battery, weight 12.5 kilograms. Wait a minute. Isn't that exactly what I said this bike will weigh with the range extender? So, the Ribble has 350 watt-hour battery. Mine has 236. With the range extender 171, that's 407 watt-hours. An extra 57 watt-hours for the same weight. I couldn't get my head round. This ain't got carbon wheels. Why is this bike so much lighter? I went online, did my research. So when Scott was making the Scott Addict RC, they came up with a new layup of carbon fibre, which I think, off the top of my head, I'm probably wrong, it's called HMX, which is much, much lighter than what the Ribble uses, which is a mixture, I think, of Toray, different layups, different numbers, Toray 1000 and some other sort of carbon fibre layup, all depending on whereabouts on the bike, if it needs stiffness or compliance, it uses different types of carbon fibre. So Scott's frames, using this higher spec, and I googled it, did all my research, he said it's 2 to 3 times more expensive, this level of carbon fibre, and it weighs under 1 kilo for the frame set. So that is how this bike, even with a range extender, weighs the same as the Ultegra Ribble, even though the Ribble's got deep section carbon fibre wheels and this hasn't. So in terms of weight, this bike actually weighs less than the Dura Race version, which is 11.8. I remember when the bike was first announced, I'd sit there on Ribble's website looking at all the different X20 bikes. I remember sitting there thinking, if only I had £9,000 to drop on an electric road bike that only weighs 11.8. And here I am on the Scott Addict eride that weighs 11.6. So what I'm thinking now in the future, 30-40 mile loops, I ride it as is and enjoy the lightest e-bike I've ever rode. Long days in the saddle in the Peak District, 50, 60, 70, 80 mile rides, range extender. But wait a second, I know I'm waffling, bear with me. 11.6 kilogram plus 1 kilogram, 12.6 kilograms, minus 100, 200 grams I'm going to save with TPUs. So I've tried to do the maths of how many miles I'm likely to get, and it's around 82 in the hills. But I found something else out recently, I'll tell you in a sec. We've got another big hill climb. Let's bang it up to turbo. Another test for the updated X20. I'm going to put the power down in a sec. See how it responds to me going from 200 to 500 watts. Here we go. 600 watts, sorry. 550 watts. This is ridiculous. 14 miles an hour uphill. And it's steep. Not now, in. So let's knock it down to sport. Keep my cadence at 80. Oh, it's not actually, it's 90. %4 incline, 13.5 miles an hour. Unbelievable. 5% incline, 13 miles an hour. That is, that is amazing. Just got to the top of Rochefern. It's about 4 or 5%. I went up the first part in turbo. It was just ridiculous. Ridiculous. It's like the hill wasn't there. This update, wow. I mean, yeah, it's 4 or 5%. I'll have to do another video in the Peak District, send it up something 15 to 20%. But anyway, when it got to 4%, I turned it down to sport. And to average 13.5 miles an hour, up a 4% incline, with cold legs on a cold winter's day, it's amazing. So I was taught this is my bike, this is the Scott Addict eride. I've got the new Ravemen light at the front, with my Garmin on top. I've got the Pulsar one, which you tap, changes the power levels. I'm able to keep a different data screen on here, and I've got my power, my watts here, the battery charge 79% the time, the range. So anyway, I was talking about thinking to doing super long rides in the summer, and that I'll have 407 watt hours at my disposal. On my average, and saying that, that's over the winter when you get less economy out of these batteries in the cold weather, I'm averaging about 3.8 watts per mile. So gives me around 82 miles range, or at least I thought. So Mahle, they've also got this little dock for the range extender called the Energy Hub. I remember watching the video. You can go in a cafe and you can use your range extender as like a power bank to charge your phone or bike computer or lights, whatever. And I thought, I've got various power banks in the house lying around. Don't need that. Until I was reading something a week ago, and at first I couldn't believe it. I had to go double check. So this Energy Hub, you can charge your power banks, etc. Charge your phone via the range extender, but it has another thing it can do, which is, without having to carry your big heavy charger for your bike, you've got to use either 65 watt or up to 100 watt phone charger, plug it into the range extender, the Energy Hub, put your range extender on in a cafe. And cafes don't like people charging e-bikes. Well, you're not asking to charge your e-bike. You just say, have you got a wall outlet that I can use to plug my phone charger in? And they say, yeah, there's one over there next to this table. Put your range extender in the little Energy Hub, and it's only a little dock. Charge your range extender in the cafe. So I asked AI if I used a 65 watt charger, which are about 20 quid, in about 40 minutes, 30-40 minutes, it said I would gain back about 30-35 watt hours. Well, that turns my range extender from a 170 watt hour range extender to a 200. So then I asked, how about if I used a 100 watt charger, which is slightly heavier? It says you would gain around 70-75 watt hours, which would turn my range extender into a 250. That worth more than double the range of my bike. So anyway, that's giving you a sneak peek into what I'm planning for the summer. So the Energy Hub is around 120. Range extender, I'm going to be patient on. I'm hoping to get it for around 350 to 400 quid. So for around 500 quid, I've gone for the Scott Addict with, say, a 50-mile range, to one potentially with a quick cafe stop, 100-mile range in the hills, at least in theory. To be honest, even if it's 80-mile range, that's amazing. I could do that on my Ribble. I've got the range extender. But it's no fun cycling a bike that weighs 14.5 kilos. Especially when you get off the hills and you hit the flats and you're thinking, I want to get home, and you try and put the power down and it's like you're pulling a dead weight behind you. Also with the Ribble, to remove the rear wheel, you need quite a hefty Allen key. In fact, it's probably the biggest Allen key in my set. That must weigh over 150 grams. Not with this, it's just a through axle. And the bike actually comes with a tool on the back wheel to remove the wheels. So there's a bit of weight saved on what I'm carrying on the bike in my bag. So I'm looking at around 12.5 kilo with a range extender, carrying a couple of 100 grams for the charger and energy hub. What a setup. What a setup for the next couple of years. And with this update today, and with this bike having one-to-one gearing for getting up hills, finally I'm going to start tackling some of them climbs out of my area. Hard Not Pass, Great Dunfell, some of the big climbs in Wales. Up to now, on my Ribble in the last 3 years, I've done a bit of cycling in North Wales. I've done Yorkshire a bit. I've done Home Moss. The Isle of Skye Road going down towards Dovestone Reservoir is one of the best descents I've ever done. And I've seen a massive chunk of the Peak District in the last 3 years. But it's time to go further afield in the next 12, 18 months. And I cannot wait. And thanks to Mahle for this update. This bike's even punchier. It's put a massive smile on my face today. This is where this Scott Addict comes into its own for me. When you're on a flat and you look down and you're doing over 20 miles an hour, 30 kilometers an hour, and it's an absolute breeze. And 22 miles in, I've used 38% of the battery. Not bad for a cold weather day. And this is the smaller 236 watt-hour battery. But then again, it's a super lightweight bike. I'm finding I'm going up gradual inclines, where on the X35 I've been wanting to go into sport. I'm finding eco is equal to sport on the X35. That is just unbelievable. I would say that sport on the X20 feels like turbo on the X35, and this updated turbo on the X20 is just something else. And it gives you that power now. This is what Mahle have done. It's giving you that power now at the slower cadence. That was a 7% incline in sport. Still sticking to 12.5 miles an hour. Very little effort. It took me a long time to decide which bike I wanted to get next. And other than a couple of things I'm going to upgrade on this, it's got to have the worst bar tape ever So when I'm holding onto the tops, my hands are slipping. Feels like it's made out of plastic with a cork look. On my Ribble, I upgraded it to a really thick, spongy gravel tape, extremely grippy. I think that was by BB. So I'll be looking on my Amazon purchases from a couple of years ago and buying it for this. Says I was doing 400 watts then, not a chance was there? – 16 miles an hour going up a 2% incline. In eco. Not just the X20 system as a whole, but I'm finding this bike. I mean, imagine if I put carbon fibre wheels on this. I'd get it well under 11 kilos. Some deep set carbon fibre wheels, or maybe not deep set, they're more for aero. Maybe 35, 40 millimetre climbing carbon rims. Lightweight. With some TPU tubes in. That could be an upgrade once I sell my Ribble. Obviously I'd have to get the back wheel rebuilt. It's not expensive. Right, that's me done. And it's safe to say the Mahle X20 update is amazing. Happy New Year, everyone. So in a minute, there is a gradual hill climb going up Artog Road, or Arfog, in Hale. And last time I checked, on Strava under the e-bike section, I was in second place. I think I went up that on my Specialised. That's got less torque than this. And is a heavier bike, although it is a mid-hub. And compared to the X35, supports you to around 16.5. But guess what? So does this. So, I mean, I've not got my summer fitness, but let me see what I can do. The only thing is on this section now, I'm going too fast to get assistance, which shoots up in a minute. But this is a part of the Strava segment, even though it's only 1%. Here we go. I'm not even getting out of the saddle. I'm putting out 400 watts. I'm doing 15 miles an hour. It's 5%. Tell you one thing, battery percentage certainly drops doing this. 14 miles an hour, 6%. Wow. There we go.